I'm Trey Williams, founder and executive director of Ancora Ministries. We believe that all of God's kids should have everything they need to be everything that He created them to be. Now, you and I know that when you're hungry, you're not at your best. But what happens when you're an 8-year-old kid and you don't have enough to eat? Our Feed Kids Right Now weekend food program fills food gaps for kids who get free breakfast and lunch at school Monday through Friday, but don't have enough to eat on weekends and school breaks. I want to tell you the story of one of the kids in our program. A couple years ago, I was invited to speak at a career day at a local elementary school. I walked into the school, they told me, "You got the fourth graders today." And so I presented to every class of fourth graders in that school. And the last group that came in that day, at the end of the presentation, this little boy walked up to me and he goes, "How does somebody get to be a part of that food program you're talking about?" So I looked at him. I knew he was talking about himself, but didn't let on that I knew. And I said, "If you know somebody who needs to be in this program, I want you to tell them to go talk to their teacher today. Their teacher's going to tell the counselor, and the counselor's going to call me. And we'll make sure that we get that kid some food to eat." So then he looks down and then he looks up at me and he says, "My dad left in January, and there really hasn't been a lot to eat at home since then." So I got down on eye level with him and I said, "Do you want me to talk to the counselor before I leave today?" And he said, "Yes." So I said, "Would you be willing to tell me your name so that I can share it with her?" And he said, "Danny." So I went to the counselor when I was leaving and I told her about my conversation with Danny, and she got a little choked up and she said, "I knew that he was having a hard time, but I didn't realize it was that bad. And he's got 2 sisters at this school." So we enrolled Danny and his 2 sisters into the Feed Kids Right Now program that day, and the following week they started getting a weekly backpack bag from us. Fast forward a year, same school, I'm back for career day, and this time they give me the 5th graders. The 4th group that comes in walks Danny. And so I'm watching him as I give my presentation because I'm interested to see by his body language if our program is helping him the way that I think it does. I can tell you all day long that not being hungry makes everything better for a kid, but watching this kid's body language is going to tell me the real story. And as I'm presenting, I see Danny nodding along, and by his body language, I can see that it has been helpful for him. And when I finished, a group of kids came up to me, they shook my hand and thanked me for coming, and Danny was at the end of the line. And when it's his turn, he looks up at me and he says, "You remember me from last year?" And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, I remember you." And he said, "Thanks for doing this." And he walked out of the room. We feed 1,600 kids at 52 schools in Central Texas every week. That's more than 8,000 meals that we provide because these kids need it. But they need it because every single one of them has a story like Danny's story. And all of those stories matter. They matter to God and they matter to us. And that's why we do what we do. Thank you so much for being a part of our ministry here in Central Texas, because together there's no limit to what we can do for God's kids.